Hello, everyone. Uh, Today I'm back with a lesson on demand. Now, uh, about 10 days back, about a week ago, we were told that there would be a new project component which would be introduced for the batch of 2021. That means all those who are moving to grade 12 now and will be sitting for your board exams in February 2021. Even for you all, there would be a project component for both English language and literature. For That's for English, and you'll have separate one for mathematics. Now, because of that, a few of you had had sort of requested me if I could do a little session on what is exactly the requirement for this. So what I've done is I have just highlighted exactly what is required for your project component for English language. Remember, this is English language, and my focus is on class 12. That means the graduating class of 2021. I'm not talking of the new class 11s. This is not for you for this lesson. I will be working with you all next year. You all don't need to work on it now. Okay, now if you go into this language, you can see it right on your screen. This is straight from the notice of the board. But even here, there is a slight alteration. If you see, listening skill is 5 marks, which is internal, which, as you know, it is listening is like the oral comprehension that you had in class 10, where you could get a comprehension passage. You would have it would be read once to you, and then at a certain speed, about 100 to 110 words a minute, and then you had the freedom to write a few notes for yourself. It would be read the second time again at a faster speed, and then you'd be given a MCQ to fill in, mark the answers from the choices given. So that's your listening skill. You have a speaking skill, and there are the topics are given here. Either you narrate an experience, or give a report, or express an opinion. You could also have a panel discussion in class. That depends on what your teachers plan for you. And my focus is also not on that. My focus is on the writing skill. If you see the writing skill, here there is an anomaly. Though they have given it's a 500 word project that you have to write. When the presentation was made by a representative of the board, it was mentioned clearly that the word limit was 1000 to 1500 words, like the literature, which is right below. If you see, the literature component is 1000 to 1500. The same is applicable to your written project, 1000 to 1500. That is what was mentioned on the ABP Anando site when there was a class conducted by a teacher who was representing the ISC board, who mentioned that it will be 1000 to 1500. I have taken that into consideration. I also found out they said yes, it's going to be 1000 1500. So I'm basing it on that, and giving you a few pointers. Now you see, you could choose any of the topics. Now, whether the choice is yours, or it will be a choice that is given to you by the teachers, that is for each school to work it out. But if you were given a choice, then which one would you write? If you understand your skills, it will be very important, because then you can choose the one that you are best suited to write. If you see the first one, the description of a process, those of you who are science student, you know how to write when you write your practical, about the experiment that you have conducted, right? It's about 1000 word to 1200 words. So you describe an experiment, or you describe how to operate a device, or you cook a dish. I mean, the way you write it. Description of a sporting event is a description of a cricket match. That's very much like your question 2A of your language paper, right? When you're asked to write an article describing a sporting event that you have witnessed. So what do you write? It's like a mini essay. It, Honestly, 1000 to 1500 words is a complete essay. So it's just a description of a sporting event, uh, something that you organized in your school. You write an article on it, or something that you have, maybe you witnessed the final of the IPL, or you saw the final of Wimbledon, or you've seen the final of the football, mm, uh, World Cup football. You've seen the final. You've been to San Siro and you've seen the Euro final, whatever. So it depends on not Euro, sorry, the World Cup. Yes, or you see the final of Euro um, in Madrid. It depends. Now, you could write a description of that sporting event, or you could write a review of a TV serial, which again is like a book review or a film review. Many of you have already done the review of an article or the review of a TV serial. So, that also is a choice that you could make. Now, if we come to the description of a process, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through to this slide, which is important. Now, if you see here, the marking scheme, you're going to be marked. Remember, it's for 10 marks. So there are five points here. So I'm assuming it's going to be 2 marks per category, per criteria. So presentation, originality, use of appropriate language, structure and style. Now in presentation and originality, it is the content that you're writing and how, remember, it has to be original. You can't plagiarize. That's very important. You can't just copy something from the net and just put it down. And appropriate language, yes, if you're doing a technical, when you're writing something about an experiment, the language is very technical. Or if you're writing about a dish, then you have to write about ingredients and you use cookery terms. When you're writing a descriptive essay about a sporting event, you're using adjectives, you're using proper verbs, right? So the use of language is extremely important. Structure is based on paragraph, how you paragraph it. Remember, when you're writing a review does not have 4 long paragraphs like you have in your composition or your essay. A review will have short paragraphs, right? When you write a book review or a film review, you have short paragraphs. You make 5 to 6 or 7 neat paragraphs that will give you a review, right? Style is definitely the format that you put together, the style of writing, the kind of English that you are writing, and how you write it. Now, style here, of course, will be based a lot on how you format your entire uh, presentation and your project. The neatness is very important. So, the difference between a project and a class work would be, the first thing is you would have a file, right? Remember, a neat covered file with your name, class, roll number, subject, and specifically English 1 or English 2, right? That's your cover. Open out. The first page should be your title page, what you are going to write. So it's going to be your English Language 1 project, and then you write the title, whichever. Suppose it is suppose we take the first one, how to operate a device. That's your first one. Yes. Suppose you're going to write that. So you write that as your title page. So you know that's your title page. Neatly you write it, underline it, turn it, and then you start the way you're going to write out the project. Remember, here it's not like your other history project or geography project where you subdivide it, because probably you can subdivide it as you write it, because that will be a style and how neatly you present it, right? Presentation and style, if you see here, would sort of overlap to a certain degree. Presentation and style would overlap, but presentation would involve your entire presenting of your project, neat cover, neatly written. Your style would be the way you write it. So that's the difference. So title is the title as given in your the question, and what you do inside is, suppose I told you like how to operate a device, but I'm giving you an example of what I have written out for you. It's guidelines to operate a drone. Now that's a device. A drone is a device. So I thought, if I were to write about how to operate a drone, I want to teach you how to operate a drone, right? What would I put in there? So generally, I'm not going to read through it. It is included in this presentation. So what I'm going to do after I finish my introduction would be guidelines to operate a drone. I'm not going to write an introduction, but my first subheading, my heading would be, the heading is already there. When I turn the page, I'm going to write at the top, guidelines to operate a drone, underline it, put the date, and I start. I'm going to give a general introduction, a very general introduction as to what drones are. They become a part of professional recreation equipment. To help you navigate a simple drone, I have detailed out a process. So I am detailing out a process, right? So facts to bear in mind. Yes, you could include a photograph if you want to of a simple drone. That's an option which could always be included in your presentation, right? The next subheading that I put is the key features. So I'm putting a key feature of what is a simple drone. You need to know. So before you operate a process, you need to know the key features. So I'm putting a simple drone as a left stick, a right stick. I'm explaining what the role of a left stick or a right stick is. Yes, I've written this out for you. I'm not reading it out, it's there. Then I draw it to make it very clear as to what I mean of the x-axis and the y-axis. X-axis is that is the you have the stick that goes left to right, and the y-axis is which moves it up and down, right? So this is my first subheading is the key features. Now you see I'm planning the project, and these are the presentation styles. I'm showing you one presentation style, and then my next subheading will be the process involved in flying a drone. Yes. So my next subheading is the process involved in flying a drone. So now I'm going to go into details. Now, how I have done this is I have done it point wise. It could be done in bullet. You want to do it, you can do it in short paragraphs. I decided to do it point wise, but full sentences. It's not in short. It's a full sentence because I have to keep to the word limit, and my word limit for this has been roughly 1200 words. So I follow a process of how to do it. Like you begin with charging the battery, you identify the field where you want to have trees around, you place the drone on a flat surface in front of you, then you have the sequence that you'll have to remember each time. So I'm repeating the sequence, the process, x-axis, y-axis, how to move the stick, then how to move it up and down, the way to be followed. The next step in the process is to learn to rotate the drone. So how will you push the drone, the left stick, right stick? Then I've given an example about like a video game pilot. Imagine flying this drone. Imagine you're going to fly this drone. So you learn to maneuver the left stick first on the x-axis, then the right stick on the y-axis to gradually master the movement. Then there are some basic patterns that you should create before you venture into flying the drone into unknown routes, some suggestions. So I'm giving some suggestions. Draw parallel lines with your drone. Now, just want to tell you, I'm greatly indebted to Kabir, a student, past student of mine, ex-student of our school, who actually designed the drone, and I've learned all this thanks to Kabir. Yes, so I've been a good student. That's why I could put down the process of how to fly a drone. So first you can draw parallel lines because that's what Kabir told me. Drawing of parallel lines is for you to learn how to move the stick forward and backward, forward and backward. You learn the process. Yes, right stick pitch and then left using the right stick roll and then bring it back. Basic. Then you basic instruction of how to move it 180 degrees. Next, you learn how to design a square if you see here. That is right stick pitch. Yes, move the drone forward with the right stick. Pitch. Stop. Rotate the drone to 90-degree, right? Either to the left or right using the left stick. Right? So right stick you move, left stick you move it down. Then repeat the third step till all the drone has reached its original position and your square is made. So process. Then you can challenge yourself to make a circle using the left stick and the right stick. Move forward, round, and it makes a circle. You can further complicate movement by using the same method as the above to make figures of 8 in front of you. So once you master them, all these, then you can take it higher up to a distance and you can see how it unfolds. I put a statutory warning: never lose sight of your drone while you're learning to master its movement. And even after that, yes, because you have to keep the drone in range of your transmitter. So I have put all the possible points down. So remember the subheadings that I have put. Very important. First, guidelines, that's a heading there. Then the key features I have put here. Then the process involved in flying a drone. And there's something else I decided to put, That is facts to remember while flying a drone. That is also a part of the process. Safety is of prime importance. So fly your drone below 400 feet. The speed should be below 100 miles per hour. Never fly at night or late evening. Keep the drone within your line of sight. Do not fly over human beings. Never use a drone from a moving vehicle. You're not in a car and you're trying to use a drone. Don't do it. And then I would put a neat conclusion to complete the project. So a conclusion is very important, which I'm going to leave you with housekeeping tips. So I'm giving you a few tips by way of conclusion. Do not get excited. Understand your drone. Understand the movement. Never let your controller lose communication with your drone. Yes, because it's a priceless possession. Keep it clean. Follow instructions given by the manufacturer about battery power. Then I have given a concluding line. I hope you enjoy. Oh, sorry. This. I hope you enjoy your drone experience and share the joy with family and friends around. Yes, I hope you enjoy your drone experience. Right. So this is the conclusion, and I have seen it's roughly about 1200 words, which makes it perfect. So you need an introduction, a subheading. I have put 3 subheadings for the process when you're describing a process, and then a conclusion. Remember, when we talk of neatness and presentation, that is very important, right? Okay. So I mean, I love cooking. So suppose I'm going to do a dish. Okay. So what is the heading that I'll put? I put the heading as given in the question. What is given in the question? It's given. You are supposed to write cook a dish. Suppose that's a question given to you. So the title page, you write cook a dish. You turn the page, your heading would be a mouth-watering delight. That's my heading. I've given my heading. A mouth-watering delight. Okay. Now, even if you're writing this, the marking scheme remains the same: presentation, originality, language, structure, and style. Right. I have begun with a introduction which is very personal. The lockdown period gave me the perfect opportunity to show my family a new aspect of myself, namely a creative aspect which is often questioned. I put myself in your shoes and I wrote an introduction. So I started experimenting with my mother's permission and preparing one dish for either of the main meals for the family. Right. This experimentation process began with the ace of cooking, something that I've conjured up. Let me explain. Now, what I've done is I put myself in your place. So let me explain what this ace, as my mother put it, meant. I'm giving you ideas. Think about things that you can make your introduction different. Nice. Yes? So she said in a matter of fact way that the acronym of it was arranging and assembling for the A, cutting and chopping for the C, and of course eating and eulogizing. You need to praise my cooking. That's E. So how simple. But for a novice like me, yeah, unfathomable. I need to put a comma here. Unfathomable. But with my mother as a teacher, I went headlong into creating what I then believed was a work of genius. Right? My first banana walnut cake. Right. That is what I'm going to make today. And you know by now that this is one of my favorite recipes. Then, of course, you begin very matter of fact, you go into the description of the process. First, ingredients. You have to write each ingredient as it is. I'm not going to give you, this is just showing you how it has to be written. You can talk about the value of each ingredient, as all that you are using has a healthy factor to it. Use olive oil instead of butter. You can talk why it's important. Wheat flour atta instead of white flour maida. Banana food value, walnuts food value, honey in place of sugar. That is important, yes. And for the vegetarian palate, no eggs in this cake. Then you come to the method. You could also when you're writing this ingredients, you could make this into bold, make it bold. If you want, you could underline it so that it stands out as a subheading. Then the next would be your method, which again you could make it bold and underline it, right? Then your method either could be in points A, B, C, D, or you could make short paragraphs. This is your choice. Either points like I showed you the process, or short paragraphs for each of them, for each step, for each step, right? So you can do whichever way you want to. After the method is over, you finish it, then you come to a conclusion, which is again highlighted, and your conclusion is please relate it to your introduction. You can talk about the smiles and cheer that went round the table as your family gathered to celebrate your first cooking project. What a moment for you. Now you see there is a pun intended in writing the first cooking project, one that you will treasure for the rest of your life. You could end the essay with a quotation from your mother. Ma, do you think I aced this? Leave you to guess what her reply was. I am giving an ending like that. So why not? This again, if we write the whole thing, with the method and ingredients and the conclusion and introduction, it will be like a 1200 word. Yes, you will never touch a 1500 unless you're writing a description of a sporting event or anything. And naturally, the words are not important. You need to describe the process, and a cooking process is never complete unless you break it up into ingredients, method, and then the conclusion, right? So, and the third one, of course, which I thought I will not show you, is to conduct an experiment. This is extremely simple. The way you write your experiment in your physics or chemistry or biology or computers, you you have done the experiment in the laboratory, then come and write it. The same method use, exactly the same method. Give a neat introduction and a neat conclusion. That is important. You still have a heading, main page, then you go in, you have the topic written on the top. You have a heading which is the generic heading given in the on the question paper. That's a generic heading. Then when you turn, you give your own heading for your project, and then the subheadings that follow, right? Understood? Okay, now when it comes to the description of a sporting event and an autobiographical experience, these are two essays. So I decided not to take that discussion up in this exercise, because this exercise is only for the component which is not like the ones that you have done earlier, right? So I have taken the review of a TV serial. How will it be different from question 2A? Question 2A, apart from, remember, the marking scheme remains the same. Marking scheme, I don't know why it has become 10. Okay, sorry, because I started with, if I remove it, this is presentation is 1, originality is 2, and use of um appropriate language is 3, structure is 4, and style is 5. The marking scheme remains the same. So your first inside, you cover, brown paper cover, label, inside page you write the generic title that's given by your teacher. That is a review of a TV serial. This is your heading. Suppose a review of a TV serial, and then you that is your generic heading, and then you have the marking scheme, and then you can put a heading. The heading that I have deliberately not done it, because I decided I will write the heading in front of you all. Now, either you can put the name of the serial that you want to write to review, or you could have some enigmatic heading uh, for the, not the title, remember, the heading on the page. And but remember, keep it to 3 to 4 words, don't make it very long. And what would I like to put as a heading here? I would like to put the saga continues. I like to put the saga continues. Okay, that will be my heading that I put for the review, right? So now let's see what it is about the saga that continues. You know what I've done? I give the heading, then I've written these points for you, like we do for a film review or a book review. These are the points that you must definitely cover. You should have the name of the serial, the language in which it is broadcast, the channel on which it is aired, the slot, time of telecast, if there is a retelecast, if they are applicable, and because the time also shows the popularity of the serial, that's very important. And the genre is very important. Is it a social issue, historical, a thriller, something from popular literature that you have a serial like, you have stories, short stories of O. Henry, which have been serialized. You have stories from Tagore, which has been popular literature, which has been serialized. You have Tamas, which has come as a serial over Doordarshan, right? And of course, uh, you have historical and religious, actually mythological, if I may call it, the Ramayana and the Mahabharata. Yes, the director, producer, you cast, definitely director, producer, cast, setting. If it's a period serial, historical, popular literature setting, the costumes, dialogue, music becomes very important. Reasons for appeal or popularity, for which age group, you should see that those points come in. The TRP, based on advertisements. TRP is based on advertisements during the show, the timing of the show, if there is a retelecast, if the time is prime time. You have some prime time viewing and all that, or some which are over the weekend. Like you, when Kaun Banega Crorepati came in, it was only over the weekend. And in under in Calcutta, you had uh, the quiz show that Saurav Ganguly, Dadagiri, which again Saturday, Sunday, prime time. Yes, so that everybody was sort of watching it. Yes, so to TRP is based on advertisement and also the slots, which I already put number three. So number three, number eight, you could overlap. But these are basically the points that you should cover to give you a 1200 word essay. Now, I have written a few points. I've not written a review for you. I've given you the main points. Do keep the following points in mind and paragraph accordingly while writing to tick the 1 to and 4 criteria. So 1 and 4 criteria is presentation and structure. So once you get the content and you're making the paragraphs, your 1 and 4 is covered, right? Language and style is a manner of writing and how creative one can be. So the use of vocabulary is very important. Correct language is very important. Don't try to use big words. See that your English is correct, grammatically correct, neat sentences, beautifully phrased. Yeah, it should read well. That is, the lucidity of language is very important. Avoid grammatical errors, spelling errors. Originality is do not plagiarize. So your second point is originality. Why is originality so high up in this order of marking? Is many of you just copy from the net. It's so obvious to all the teachers who are examining, because we know exactly what your style is. So please do not. You read if you want to. Read and be inspired by what you read, and then write it the way you can express yourself the best. If you want, follow the pattern, probably this idea leading into the other, but then use your own. Don't write on the same TV serial. Don't use the same vocabulary. So the minute you write on a different serial, it becomes original. You can follow the pattern. You can see, okay, first this writer wrote about style, and then went about writing about the casting, then went to the story. Not much about the story. Remember, you're not writing much about the story. You are analyzing and reviewing the serial, how the story. Or you can also, when you're watching a serial which is a part of say a you've watched Bomkesh. Now, all of us have read Bomkesh books. We have read the books. Then, when you watch a serial, you feel that the serial falls short of expectations, to your expectations, because when you read it, you had some other image in your mind. So, you're most welcome to criticize, but be very constructive about your criticism. Don't be too judgmental about it. Analyze it with an open mind. Analyze how things could have been done differently, if you think they could have been done differently. But where praise is due, do praise. Yes. So choose a serial that you enjoy watching. Always write about one that you have enjoyed. I'm sure this is a question that many teachers will be asked, so I'm putting it already as a point. TV definitely would include OTT, over the top, because now, oh, lockdown period, new serials, new shows, even new movies are going to be released over our private over the television. Yes, network, the channels that we have, like Netflix, Amazon Prime, HBO, Z, etc. They're different platforms. Yes, so this is a new normal. uh, so TV, all of us are watching our the different subscriptions that we have. uh, how many of us honestly are switching on the television and looking at the movies that they are telecasting? We are also we are hooked on to the serials that are coming on Netflix and Amazon. Many of us. So that's a new normal, like I've written. This is a new normal, the new reality. So do ask your teacher concerned about the appropriateness of using. I'm sure they will be open to it, but still, my warning to you is, please do ask before you start penning down your review. Yes, and if you're doing it during the lockdown period, when you get a question, I'm sure you'll have a platform where you can pose an answer. And so many of us, like when I see Netflix, I always use what I do is playing it, and then I Chromecast it on my television. So I mean, I know it's a very stupid thing to say, but I'm watching it over my television. I Chromecast it. So, but do ask your teacher for that permission. Yes, as yes. Now I have put an introduction. I thought, if I were to write, what would I do? As new serials went off air, Doordarshan in India decided to rebroadcast Ramayan for the generation that missed it the first time and the generation that would not mind watching it all over again. So probably that's why my heading was "The Saga Continues." Okay. It has to match, right? I broke it. A short introduction. When Ramayan, directed by Ramanand Sagar, I'm giving the ticks to the points, was first aired on the 25th of January 1987, India, then with a population of about 800 million, came to a standstill. When it was aired again after nearly 33 years on the morning of the 28th of March, I can, just to make it similar as above, 2020, yes, India with a population of nearly 1,400 million, roughly, again came to a standstill. Again, put a comma here, came to a standstill. How does it read as an introduction? Great? Yes. So your introduction is very important. And then I'm also ticking the director. I'm talking about how introduction will tell you, because I am actually reviewing a serial that has already been aired once. So my review has to show new aspect of it, or as I see it, from new eyes. Yes, because it is an old wine in a new bottle. Yes. So the way I will review it, I've just given the introduction to you, because the rest will be all technicalities to follow about settings, dialogue, music. And if any of you would like a sample of a review, I didn't want to put a sample here because I don't really want people to sort of use it. That's why I've given the points. I've given you what are the important factors to keep in mind. The introduction is very important, and remember, your conclusion would be based on your, whether you think that it is a serial worth watching. You can give your personal opinion about the TRP, whether you accept the TRP, and you feel that it is one serial that is going to rule the roost even after the lockdown is over. It's up to you. And if you are writing about Netflix or Amazon, you can write about the new reality that is here to stay, which has changed our TV serial viewing, perhaps forever, right? So that could be your conclusion. So I have covered the first, and if I go back to the first slide, I have covered your the description of a process. I've done the TV serial. if you see the second and third, these are mini essays that you have to write. The descriptive essay, and autobiographical experience, the day I learned the lesson of punctuality, is again a mini essay. So the second and third are mini essays. So there's nothing, but remember, the mark scheme still remains the same. It's presentation, originality, use of appropriate language, structure, and style. Right? So I hope this has been informative. If you have any further questions, you are most free to write to me. Is there anything else that I can help you with? I hope you are enjoying watching the lessons that I'm putting up every week. We've got 2 more poems to go, and my poetry would be complete, and 4 more stories. So another 3 weeks, we would have completed our poetry and prose, and moving on to Tempest after that. Right? Enjoy the weekend. Take care. Stay safe. Bye for now.